Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to day number 4 on the 2015 SARA Sim Auto Racing Association Fall Brawl Spectacular, live this evening from the virtual Five Flag Speedway on Live Sim Racing TV. Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford, and Cisco Scarmouza up in the LSRTV booth for you this evening. Laura Lawson down as our executive producer. Welcome to Super Late Model Qualifying tonight. From the home of the Snowball Derby, we join into the action tonight on LSRTV, and we'll be with you Saturday night, Sunday night as well for all the feature races. But it's day 4. It's time to get the big boys gridded up for Sunday night's main event. So we welcome you into the qualifying session for these drivers, and we get set to go qualifying one car at a time qualifying session, and then we're going to place these 34 drivers into 3 or 4 different sets of heat races a little bit later on this evening. All these drivers will be the top 10 drivers will then go on to shoot out and garner themselves into the top 10 spots. Everybody else that does not qualify in the top 10 right now, we'll see them in the heat races a little bit later on tonight. We'll make the eliminations, cut 34 drivers down to just 25 to make the main grid for the 250-lap main event on Sunday. So before we get to that point, we get set to see these guys do battle, and I want to bring Rachel into the conversation first here. Rachel, first off, welcome to the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular. Interesting that we have, because again, Friday is specifically designed just for super late qualifying, and it's going to be a lot going on here to determine where they will actually line up by the time we get to the end of the week on Sunday.
Well, good evening, Evan. It will be indeed a very exciting night, and looking forward to seeing what these guys can do. Of course, we've got an hour of qualifying coming up right now. And that's going to, like you say, set the grids, and we get those amazing qualifying races, the heat races coming up soon. So going to be lots of action-packed racing tonight, and lots of people vying for superiority.
And we get set to get the time trials underway, presented in part tonight by Sci-Fly Discs. Poll night, $10 to the fastest driver who gets the best time in this session. Cisco, no surprise that if we look at the drivers in the sim at the moment, first off, the Sim Auto Racing Association, we've seen plenty of coverage from these guys with their RB Performance Super Late Model Series and some other things on LSRTV, but they put out a special event here, and everybody flocks to the racetrack. How about Ty Majeski right now, the number 91? He's currently the fastest driver on track. You got Ty Spearman, Joe Schaefer Jr., Kevin Myers, Derek Holtzhausen, just some of the names that these guys are going to have to deal with tonight, as well a lot of pro drivers in here also.
Absolutely, this field is, there's no other word for it, it's stacked. I mean, going up and down the list, Ryan Borges, PJ Sturgis, as you mentioned, Ty Majeski, just a couple names that jump straight out at me. This is some of the best right here we're going to see in iRacing, and this is going to make these heat races coming up a little later, those are going to be very exciting.
And these guys try to get every single lap they can. They're currently working towards the end of about a 40-minute warm-up session. Let's take a look at the procedures that these guys will use to qualify through their time trials. So again, right now, this really does not have anything to do with where you'll end up on Sunday, but you want a good time trial speed to be in a good position for your qualifying race a little bit later on tonight to get a good spot on the grid to race for $200 on Sunday evening. Each car is going to go out and they will get 2 laps of green flag racing. They'll come back down to the pit lane. Their time will be posted, Rachel. A lot of the time what we talk about when we see qualifying like this is if you have 2 laps, somebody makes a mistake, they have the opportunity, in theory, to go out there and fix that. Well, that's not an option here. If you catch the fence, there's no escaping out of your race car going down to the pit lane. The SARA officials said that once you leave the pit lane, you're out there for your 2 laps and you're back down. So what we could see, and again, it'll be interesting, and we'll see a lot of different guys hit the track as we get set to get time trials underway now. But as we take a look, we might see some guys use that first lap to just get something down, maybe push it a little bit more on the second one. So the strategy begins right off the bat here with these time trials.
It does indeed, and you've got to really think about your tyres as well in a run like this. You don't want to do too cautious a lap on the first one and then not really be able to push it as hard on the second one, but I think with the practice these guys have in, they should be able to go pretty hard on the first lap as cars are now starting to line up at the end of pit road. We did say it's $10 to the fastest qualifier. I think the only question we have to ask is what's Ty Majeski going to spend it on?
We're 3 days through the event. It's day number 4 for the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular. And as we get set now to begin what matters, as we set $1,600 in prizes, super late model time trials begin. And it's the number 47, Mark Welch, first driver out onto the racetrack to get qualifying underway.
Looking forward to seeing what he can do with this lap as he comes through 3 and 4 now to start his first flying lap. We'll see if he really pushes this one a lot. I mean, we're looking for some, well, he was not so fast in the initial practice session, but good line. Oh, not a great line from him on the exit of 2 there.
And he comes from 34th on the practice speeds. First time is a 16:9:36. This time through. Final lap as checkered flag flies for Mark Welch. The time will not improve. It was a 9:77 that time, all the way to the fence, getting everything he could out of it. It'll put him on provisional pole. That time not besting what the time that he had in the practice session was. He'll bring that car down to the pit lane. So next up is the 33rd fastest car in practice. We work bottom to the top. So in theory, that top spot not going to be safe all night long. It's Dylan Schmidt on the racetrack.
We're going to see what Schmidt can do.
97 looks like he's having some connection issues out there. He will get the top spot, though, his first lap with a 16.666. Second time by, checkered flag will fly. He improves on that time with a 16.520 for Dylan M. Schmidt. So he'll take over the top spot, and Matt Bontempi now, Rachel, going to hit the racetrack. 32nd fastest car in practice is on the grid.
Yeah, he will. We're going to see what he can do with this one. It's going to be interesting to see if he can improve. Times are dropping rapidly already. Of course, he had a 4 in practice, so looking for something about that. Maybe a little faster, we'll soon see. But It's going to be an interesting lap. The 5 of Brian Thompson, of course, will be coming up onto the track next time by. So we'll see if Bontempi can improve. Of course, he got 4.74 on that first lap. So not as fast as his practice time, but this one will tell. Will it be an improvement? It's not. 4/1000 slower.
Still good enough to get him to the top spot. Now we look, Brian Thompson, your 31st fastest car in practice. The next cars due up will be Alex O'Brien, Tom Hamilka, Ryan Borges, Barry Zellmer, as we continue 30th, 29th, 28th, 27th, as we work our way to the fastest qualifiers. Thompson on the racetrack, first lap in the books, he'll take the white flag. That lap time, though not bested what Matt Bontempi put down. Thompson's best lap was a 4:49. It was a 16:591 that time through. Final time in turn 4 for the driver of the number 5 machine across the start-finish line. His time going to come up at a 16:879. He'll slow down and he'll sit third provisionally.
He will, and we now have Alex O'Brien on the racetrack, so we're going to see what his first lap will be. Driver, of course, managed to get a 16:447 in practice, so he was not a bad time. Expecting something similar. He's 2/10 up on the first lap round, so provisionally last now to a third, so he's 5.89, sitting provisional third.
And he's on his white flag lap now. 2 opportunities to get a qualifying time in. Some drivers have improved on the second lap. Some have slowed. For the number 1 Camaro across the start finish line to go with a 5.89 to a 6.41. Does not improve. He does bump, though, Thompson down to 4th. Alex O'Brien will take over 3rd. And now it's the Ford Mustang, the number 16 Hurricane Race Cars entry of Tom Hamilka. He's out on track next. Was 29th fastest in practice. Best time was a 16.414.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can improve this one, and it's been a bit of a tough night for some of these guys. Not able to quite find that speed, and we've seen that from some of these first drivers. Things get very tight, though, towards the top 10 in practice, of course. Top 13 within a tenth of a second, so that's where it'll get tight. 5.08 provisionally now his first lap. His second lap will be lower, so 5.08 provisional second right now. Not a bad lap.
Next on track, somebody that we know has the speed, the Molecule Motorsports, number 32 of Ryan Borges, won the SK Modified qualifying dash and will start on pole for the SK Modified feature race on Saturday night. What can he do in the super late models? First time by, top of the spot, a 16.179, besting his best lap in practice by 0.3 of a second. Gonna go one more time down through 3 and 4. The Honda pushes a little bit high that time through. The 32 of Ryan Borges, that time he will indeed not improve his lap time, but takes over the pole by a considerable margin, 0.3 quicker than the next closest driver to the top spot with a 16.179 as the 17 of Barry Zellmer hits the racetrack.
Yeah, he does indeed. We're going to see if he can do anything about this one, of course. Most of the drivers have been much slower than the lap time we just saw from Ryan Borges, so that's an incredible time he put in. Might see some shock improvements through this one as the first lap's a 5.65. The slow one for Zellmer. We'll see what he can do in his second run round.
It's interesting because that time from Ryan Borges, if he got a 16.179 as the 17 machine really low in the corner there to the apron, that's going to upset the race car. It's a much slower lap time, so Zellmer will have to settle for 5th with a 5.65. Borges with a 16.179, that would be good enough for 12th in practice, but again, he was only 28th best at that point. Cody Thompson, next car out on track, driving for the Posky with Locodo Designs on board. That Chevrolet, first time through, he'll take the white flag. The time will be a 16.335. He goes to second. And for the final time in 3 and 4, try to keep that car down low to the bottom of the racetrack. Checkered flag drops, and his time will not improve. He slows down by 5/100ths of a second, but Cody Thompson picks up 200ths from the best time he had in practice. He sits second to Ryan Borges in these super late model time trials. Ian Lane, the next car out on track, that's the driver of the number 98 machine, goes out, and he tries to begin his lap in the Ohio State Dodge Charger.
Yeah, he will indeed. We're going to see what you can pull off with this lap. It's going to be a tough act to beat. These times starting to get much, much closer together, and we're going to really see some juggling in these positions. We might see a pole position stay for a bit longer soon, but getting so close. It's very tough to try and find a separation between these guys. Times certainly improving, though, from what they've had in practice, as Lane's first lap's nearly 5/10 faster than his practice time. Aborting the second lap, though, it seems, as he comes down pit road. So only a 16.303 will do.
A lot of these guys pick it up. Paul Fugate, the next driver out onto the racetrack in a number 44 machine for Lions Club MD9 Racing. 24th fastest in practice. He'll go P6 on that lap with a 16.513. And again, in theory, every single car that goes out, Rachel, should beat the time put up prior. But these guys picking up the pace as we've talked about. So as these guys get faster, these guys know they got to get some good speeds. And Fugate won't gain anything that time. It'll be a provisional P6 on the grid with the 16.513 that opens up the racetrack. The number 84 machine of Russell Berry, next driver to come out on track.
Don't forget, things are going to get a lot tougher for these guys later in the session. Of course, we've had 40 minutes of cars on the track for warm-ups, so that's, of course, heated up the track, put rubber down, and now we're having 34 cars running laps around this track. So by the time people like Ty Majeski and Ty Spearman and Joe Schaefer get on the track, of course, this track's going to be a lot warmer, a lot more rubber on there, so it'll be very different to when they last drove here, so certainly something to consider.
Berry's first lap going to put him 9th at 16.567, and it does not look like he's going to go and complete another lap. So Stefan Marinak now out on track. See him a lot on Monday nights with the Real Sim Racing Full Throttle Cup Series. The Mach-Water Racing Graphics, number 26 Ford, out on track. 22nd in practice. Best time was a 16.255. That time at 2.95. He goes to second on the board with his first flying lap.
Yeah, great time there from Russell Berry, but not as... Stefan Marinak. Great time, but not as quick, though, as that outstanding lap from Borges. So that's still a big measure to beat. But a 2 is certainly one of the second fastest lap we've seen so far by a good margin. So Mark Gamak now heading out to start his laps.
Marinak was not able to improve for the most part. The guys getting their first laps in have been the hot laps tonight. Mark Gamak on track, the Explosive Motorsports ALS Association, number 65 machine, down to turns 1 and 2. Fourth quick on that first lap of the 16.316. Second time through, he'll try to improve on that. That time, still 6/100ths of a second slower than his best time at a practice session. Turn 4 and sideways, giving it everything he's got. Not going to be enough to improve, though. He'll drop 1.5 He'll have to settle with that time. And now Hunter Combs, Monster Energy 63. He'll begin his lap. The driver that rounded out your top 20 in practice with the best time of a 2.18.
See what he can put on this first lap around the track. Not looking like a particularly quick one, but often that can be smoother. So first lap is a 3.12, so just over a 10th slower than his practice lap, as he's very loose on that final lap. Not going to be an improvement for Hunter Combs, so he's going to have to settle somewhere down the order.
The 96 Marcus Lambert out on the racetrack, going to come through, and he'll start his first flying lap. The driver in the number 96 machine out on track, driving for BBH Motorsports with a 16.211 for the best time he had in that 40-minute warm-up session at Five Flag Speedway. Again, the racetrack ever so evolving. It has through practice. It will continue to change through qualifying. First flying lap as he comes to take the white flag. Much slower than his best practice speed. A 16.337 puts him 7th out of 15 cars so far that have qualified. PJ Sturgis, a name to take a look at, the Lastro Motorsports driver, getting out on track now to begin his lap. Lambert this time by does not improve. He'll have to sit with that 3.37. Let's see what Sturgis has, the 57 machine.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one to watch. PJ Sturgis, very talented driver, of course. Probably is one of the few that's run oval Drivers' World Championship and road. A multi-talented guy. First lap out will be at line A, 16.239, so 200ths off his last time, as he's looking for a good lap next time round. We'll see what he can put in as he gets a very low middle of the corner there. Up high, could be a good lap. It's slower, it's a 3.30, so Sergio's having to set up a provisional second at the moment.
So it's going to be Joe Letterillo on the track right now. The driver of the number 42 machine goes out for his qualifying attempt, was 17th in practice. Sturgis gets that second spot, but again, he's still 0.08 off of Ryan Borges, who If you look at a 28th in practice, maybe he was sandbagging. How about the 42, though? Good run for him. A 262 that time by, enough to best Stefan Marinak for 3rd overall so far. Second lap tries to improve so far, though, tonight, without a doubt. I think only 2 guys have gotten better on their second lap. Letterallo not going to join that club. The 262 will be his best lap. Jason Williams, next car on track in the number 58 Mad Speed Racing entry.
Yeah, Jason Williams had a 2:05 in practice, so we're starting to get into those cars that are so close together in time now. Vettorino, Williams, and Slip were all within 100th of a second, so... or 1/100th of a second, I apologise, so very close. That first lap's not great there. It's P10 provisionally, 16.395. Will the second lap be an improvement? It really should be, considering his pace. Very slow in the middle of the corner.
He better hope, because that was 2/10 slower than his best practice speed, and he's not going to get anything out of that one either, so he can't find the speed in qualifying, and he'll find himself much further back into his heat race than he would have imagined. The 3.95 will be his best. Todd Sipe, next car out on track, was the 15th fastest driver in the warm-up session. Sipe driving for the Posse Callaway Investments on board that driver. He gets back out there, the Cadillac, on the first flying run.
It is indeed. This is something I was talking about, Evan. The track is changing, so times are getting slower. I think cars perhaps not quite prepared for this, but might do better in their heat race. So, of course, with heat races, they still have an opportunity to improve their starting positions.
A 16.211 for Todd Sipe the first time through, and not even going to give it a shot at a second lap. He'll take it, 2nd overall for the driver of the number 25. That lap time just a little bit slower than what he had in practice, so some of these guys are able to find the speed. Look at the number 6 machine, or the 8 rather, of Derek Robinson. He's trying to get everything he can. He winds that turn 4 racing entry way up on the outside wall in 3 and 4, gets as much speed as he can, and that first lap out on the racetrack a throwaway. He'll come by this time to see what he can get, and across the start finish line to take the white flag. The time going to be second. He knocks Todd Sipe off with a 16.203, just 1/1000th slower than his best time in practice. That's about as good as you'll get for the number 8 Impala, and he knows it. He pulls it down, satisfied with the result, to take 2nd overall. Now Kyle Holtzhausen, he'll try to do something about it. The 787, the next car out on track.
This could be a good lap from these guys. Things are getting much closer to their practice times, so definitely good performance coming from some of these drivers, and 1/1000th off the time for Derek Robinson. Great lap from him. What can Kyle Holtzhausen do with this one? We'll soon see. First lap round will be wiggly, and it's a 3.91. Not a great lap.
Well, we saw a couple of guys get sideways earlier, and you saw that 787. He called it. He's a little bit wiggly, trying to struggle with the handling on that car, and he's got to pull it down. They can't find the mark on the handling. He'll be 13th in practice and at best 12th in qualifying. You have to expect that driver to lose some time. So Kyle Holtzhausen not translated a fast car in practice into a fast car in his time trial run. He'll find himself well back for his heat race. It's the Autism Speaks number 36 machine of Daryl Hamlet on track right now. A 16.179, his best lap in practice. That would be enough to get pole position at the moment. 5th that time through with a 2:42 on his first lap.
It's incredible how long the 1.79 of Ryan Borges has held up so far. So it's really telling how much this track's changed. He just seemed to have a handle on it as it was, as we get that 2.42. It's not improved there for Daryl Hamlin, so slower he goes. Matt Rolfe takes the track.
Matt Rolfe, your current SARA Super Late Model points leader, hits the racetrack in a Brennigan Ford entry. 11th fastest in practice, but everybody from here on out, their best practice lap is faster than Ryan Borges' provisional pole time at the moment. Rolfe that time by, got it, a 16.137 to the top of the board for the driver of the 51. A great lap for the number 51 Mustang. He knows it, and he'll save those tires for later. Matt Rolfe, the provisional pole.
Brilliant lap there from Matt Rolfe. He's improved in his own time by 4/100ths of a second, so he's got to be happy with himself.
Yeah, exactly. He was 11th in practice. That time good enough for a top 3 in practice. Right now, the fastest speed of them all. Can Dave Riendo as well try to find something and jump up there and try to challenge at least the number 70 machine out on the racetrack right now? The Explosive Motorsports entry, 4th the first time by with the 16.206. second lap a little bit sideways at a 2, and you can count that one out. He will not improve as he heads down to turns 3 and 4. He'll give it gas anyways, but the 16.206 the first time through will be the fastest. It was a 5.20 that time. James Linkowitz, another one of the drivers that we see do very well here in these SARA Super Late models. He's the next driver out from 9th in practice. Best time he's gotten all night long was a 1.71. He needs to beat a 1.37.
If you can find that, that's an incredible lap we had from Matt Rolfe, but, well, he's the points leader for a reason, as we have a wiggly lap there from Linkowitz.
There goes that
that'll
second
be him
lap.
parking it, so 2.19, that'll be 6th position.
And we've seen a couple of guys do that. They throw it in there to turn 1 on that first lap after going to their second lap, because realistically they know that you're not really going to pick up on that second lap again. I think we only saw 2 guys do that earlier, and that's it. So a lot of these guys, they're just giving it across the start-finish line. Casey Tucker going to begin his lap in a number 28 machine, another driver with Lastro Motorsports, bringing that car to the track here tonight, a 1.70. The best lap that he had in the 40-minute warm-up session. The Intel Computers machine, turn number 4. White flag will fly in the air. And that first lap, good enough for second, and a huge pickup for him. Just about 3/100ths faster with a 16.149. He'll go to second. Not enough to knock Matt Rolfe off for the pole. Wendell Stratton going to get the next shot at it.
Wendell Stratton indeed coming out on track. We're going to see if he can put a lap in. 1.66 his practice time, so we'll see if he finds an improvement on this one. It's a first lap when he comes round, of course. It will be telling really of his speed. These drivers towards the front end really doing 1 lap and knowing that's the best they'll get, as he's a bit high there in the middle of 3 and 4. Not a bad line.
Sideways.
A little bit sideways of the line. Yeah, that's a 2.32, so P8 now.
And he'll slow that thing down at a quarter number 2, so most of these guys now just really giving it 1 qualifying lap. Gives you an opportunity, though, to watch these guys get up to speed. It's Stephen Burnett in the SRGFX.com entry, top side in 3 and 4. Tries to build the speed in that Chevrolet SS. Start-finish line, green flag in the air. Burnett 6th fastest in practice with a 16.164, best in his 40-minute warm-up of times. Down the back straightaway for the first time, flying lap, trying to take over the top spot that Matt Rolfe has at a 1.37.4, and the white flag will fly. His time good enough for 9th. Not a very good lap, just a 2.39. Well, the other of the Holtzhausen out on track right now. Kyle Holtzhausen earlier did not get the speed that he wanted. Ends up 19th provisionally. Still Derek Holtzhausen trying to get something going. The driver of the number 82 machine trying to take over pole position. Driving for Holtzhausen Racing. Best time in practice, a 16.159.
Yeah, I'll see if we can make an improvement on this one round, of course. And third line, 2, 3, and 4. Car's a little bit sideways, but holds on to it just fine. And that first lap will be
Didn't count it.
didn't count, so he's made a contact. So he's had track contact with the wall, so he's throwing a second lap away. So no qualifying time from Holtzhausen, who was 5th in practice. Major
And I mean,
disaster.
he just scraped that wall, and it was very difficult to see. That's the slightest of contact, but in the sim, 0x will disqualify your qualifying lap, and that's the second of the Holtzhausen, except Derek, top 5 in practice. He'll be at the very back and have to race his way in the second of our heat races later on tonight. Kevin J. Myers from 4th on a practice. Can he get pole position? Digging, not enough though. A 16.170 will put the snap-on machine to 2nd on the board. Still nobody remotely close to Matt Rolfe, 16.137. Joe Schaefer Jr. due up right now, followed by Spearman and Majeski. Just 3 drivers remain.
Well, these guys should all be faster than the time we've seen set by Matt Rolfe, so expect something fast. But I tell you what, one guy's happy about the lap time from Derek Holtzhausen. Mark Welch, who was last provisionally. Low, but of course, changing guys, he won and he pulls it in.
And we're seeing that a lot of these cars are pushing up the hill. They're struggling to keep them down. They're struggling to get them to hook up, not only with the hot temperatures, but as well, more rubber being put down on track. Ty Spearman going to go out a 1:27 was his lap in practice. That would be good enough to take pole with the 16.137 that Matt Rolfe has at the moment. All of these guys trying to go for that time trials bonus of $10 for the person who walks away with the top spot tonight. Not going to be enough, though. Yeah, a 16.190. That is too slow. Ty Majeski, the lone driver that can do it.
Absolutely. Ty Majeski is the one driver we expect to be able to do it. 200's clear of the field in practice, so got to expect something special from him, at least an improvement on a 137, but we'll see.
Green flag flies. What lap can he get? Ty Majeski driving for the Posse, left-hander chassis, iRacing.com, partnering with that race car here this weekend. A 16.104 by far was the fastest car in practice. Final lap of our time trials for the super late model qualifying. White flag drops. Can he get the time? He does.
Boom.
A 16.114. He will steal the top spot in time trials away from Matt Rolfe at the last possible second. And that was a slower lap time even than his best in practice, but a 16.114, more than 2 100ths quick enough to give Ty Majeski your fastest lap in super late model time trials. Does not necessarily mean that he is going to find himself starting on the top spot for the actual race on Sunday, but he does get the Sci-Fly Discs Pole Award. That's $10 to the driver of the number 91. The other drivers inside of the top 10, Matt Rolfe, Casey Tucker, Kevin J. Myers, and Ryan Borges through 5th, Ty Spearman, Derek Robinson, David Riendo, Todd Sipe, and James Linkowitz. Those 10 drivers will go to the Mid-State Litho qualifying dash a little bit later on tonight. 20 green flag laps. Those drivers will be inverted. Where they finish after those laps, it will determine where they actually start inside of the top 10 for the main event on Sunday, Rachel. And then everybody else, 11th on back, need to fight for the remaining 15 spots on the grid. At least 9 drivers will go home. Those will be split up into 2 25-lap heat races to make up the rest of the field, but they waited to the end to do it. Ty Majeski, again, he was still slower than his practice time, but he was so far ahead of everybody else in practice, easily gets that top spot away from Matt Rolfe, who I don't want to say it was a surprise lap, but he was 11th fastest in practice. He got the best lap of the night when he needed it.
He did indeed, and well, I said at the start of the session, you know, the only question we had to ask was what was Ty Majeski going to spend his money on from winning the top spot in qualifying, and it happened. That guy is incredibly fast, just unbelievable in terms of his performance he can pull off, so really impressed with that. But some strong performances. Matt Rolfe, great lap from him, and Burgess, so fast compared to his practice laps, so it's really exciting to see what's happening here with things changing.
James Linkowitz, we'll talk about the other drivers that have won their qualifying that has already taken place. Again, today is day 4 of the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular. It is Matt Rolfe, who the current SARA Super Late Model points leader, one of the drivers to note tonight. We mentioned that Ryan Borges won the SK Modified qualifying dash, so he'll start on pole for the SKs on Saturday. James Linkowitz won the qualifying dash for the Street Stocks and in the Pro Late Models. He'll start on pole for both of those Street Stocks on Saturday and the Pro Late Models on Sunday evening. Ty Majeski won the Pro Late Model Fast Lap Award, so that'll be $5 additionally. Ty Spearman, the Fast Lap Award in the SKs and the Street Stocks, he also picked up $5. All of that is what has gone on in the 3 days so far, and outside of today, still 3 days remain in this SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular. Ty Majeski, though, he waits to the last moment to do it. Fastest in practice, he backs it up at a 16.114, gives him the Sci-Fly's Discs Pole Night Award, $10 for the fastest lap in Super Late Model time trials. He'll still have to fight for the actual pole position, and everybody 11th on back, they'll still have to fight for their actual spot in the field. We're glad to have you with us on LSRTV. We're going to step away for a moment, and they'll get them gridded for time trials, heat races coming up. We get set to set the grid for the main event on Sunday night. $1,600 worth of prize money up for grabs this weekend, and you're going to see the field determined for Sunday. But first, we'll race for who gets pole. That race coming up in just a moment. We'll be back on LSRTV for our coverage of the Mid-State Litho qualifying dash from the Five Flag Speedway.
What a move. Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it in at 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Did even give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval. And that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself. And they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building two tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
But here comes Gregohutu into Canada corner for the final time. Just 2 corners left to go before he finally makes himself a triumphant return back to victory lane. He has led 38 laps of this event here today, and Gregohutu once again is a winner. Gregohutu will work himself through the Cobra Parabolica. He will claim his 46th victory in iRacing.com World Championship competition. Gregohutu for the 2nd race in a row reigns supreme.
The one thing that I think is the most important is we've been racing this Ground Championship Series for quite some time now, a very long time even at that, and he is the only driver to have ever won a professional road race at Watkins Glen.
But there is nothing that could crack that finish #1 Team Redline driver. Gregohutu worked himself out the final corner, and just as he did in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, in 2015, Hutu once again wins at Watkins Glen.
Hutu will come across the line and takes the win for round 7 here at Virginia International Raceway.
Here he comes now, just 3 corners left to go, into Brooklands for the final time, into Luffield for the final time. Never ever say that Gregohutu is beaten, because he just comes back bigger, he comes back stronger. He wins round #9 of the World Championship Series, 49th win of his career. If you're the world's greatest sim racing driver, you can do it with your statements on the road courses. Do it when it matters. Out of the final corner for the final time, number 50 for Gregohutu out of the final corner. At the top of the broadcast, we said if Hutu could win here today, he could well cement himself as the championship favourite. Gregohutu, the #1 machine, back to victory lane, win number 51. Hutu is inching closer rapidly to his 5th, and yes, I say that correctly, his 5th World Championship. Out of the bus stop chicane comes the #1 Team Redline driver, Gregor Hutu, will win here at Circuit Spa, Francorchamps. Yes, you may be behind a computer with a steering wheel and a set of pedals, but for these drivers, this is as close as they may ever get to racing in real life. It will be Gregor Hutu coming past the line. He is a 5-time world champion. Gregor Hutu wins the championship one more time. He is the greatest driver in the history of open wheel racing here at iRacing.com, and dare I say it, he is the greatest open wheel champion in the history.
Domino's TYJ Racing League is proud to announce we are now taking driver applications for our $2,500 purse inaugural season going green January 2016. At Domino's TYJ Racing League, you get paid cash, not gift cards or die casts. Cold, hard cash. You get paid for finishing 1st through 20th in our championship and 1st through 3rd, plus a lucky dog bonus in all of our 20 races, plus other cash bonuses. You're going to like the way you look. All the way to the bank. I guarantee it. Purse amount approximate, paid cash or iRacing bucks. Drivers carry less than $20. Report unsafe driving to local authorities. Apply today at Domino'sTYJRacing.com to see if you qualify for our league.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among.
Once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Relying on keen senses, lions search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Wait for it. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good, be a lion.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time.
And we welcome you back live to the virtual Five Flag Speedway at the home of the Snowball Derby. We continue with our SARA Super Late Model qualifying night festivities, time trials in the books, and Ty Majeski picking up the Sci-Fly Discs Pole Night Award. He'll get $10. However, does not necessarily guarantee that he gets the pole position. We welcome you back into the LSRTV booth. Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford, and Cisco Scarmuza along for the ride with you. And Rachel, we saw the qualifying. Majeski hits the $10 bonus, but first up now, we're going to see those top 10 drivers go back out on track inverted. So Majeski is going to be the last car on this grid. These 10 drivers going to fight in 20 laps for the Mid-State Litho qualifying dash. That will then determine the top 10 spots for the main event on Sunday.
It certainly will, and we're looking forward to exciting racing here. A lot of drivers who probably qualified out of position and will really want to improve their positions now, so this could be very telling.
So the drivers getting some last bits of warm-up in. We'll go to our qualifying dash, followed by 3 heat races to set the grid for Sunday's main event. Before that, though, we get racing tonight at the Five Flag Speedway. Let's throw things down now trackside for the opening ceremonies and as well the singing of our national anthem.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Back live at Five Flag Speedway. A big thanks to Jaden Berkey for performing this evening's national anthem. The top 10 on track right now. It's time for the Mid-State Litho qualifying dash. They're inverted from the top 10 times you saw in the practice session a little bit earlier. The time trials that set the grid for this. Now we get set to determine the lineup for the top 10 into Sunday's main event. $200 to the winner, presented by Brennigan Ford. Let's take a look, though, at your qualifying dash. Starting grid, James Linkowitz going to find himself on pole position. Todd Sipe will start from second. David Riendo in third. It'll be Derek Robinson fourth, and Ty Spearman in fifth.
Starting in P6 will be Ryan Borges. Behind him will be Kevin J. Myers, Casey Tucker, Matt Rolfe in P9, and Ty Majeski in P10.
Majeski's starting at the back of this one, Cisco. Again, though, these guys, they already qualified in the top 10 spots. Now they're inverted. Now they have 20 laps to determine where they'll really start from.
Absolutely. The person who wins this dash starts on the pole for the feature. That's huge at a short track, especially like what we have here at Five Flags. All the fast guys are up here. These are the guys who had the fastest laps in qualifying. So we're going to be seeing some blistering times in this heat. And this is going to be absolutely impressive to watch because these are some great drivers on track here.
These 10 drivers locked into the show. It just depends on where they start. After this, we have 3 25-lap heat races to whittle down the rest of the drivers to 15 more to make a 25-car grid for Sunday's main event. But it's time to get some racing underway. We're 4 days in to the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular, and we're going to have green flag racing in just a moment. We're glad to have you with us on LSRTV as our coverage of Super Late Model Qualifying Night really gets underway now. The pace car is going to get down to the way. James Linkowitz going to be in control of the field. Green flag flies, underway we go in the 7. He's setting sail. Cross the start-finish line. Lap 1 begins. James Linkowitz quite the gap over front of Todd Sipe. The number 25 started in second. Already slides backwards. Steve Riendo jumps up to second. Derek Robinson stuck up top. 2 contact now. And then 25 going to get turned sideways. Sipe around in the middle of the field. Caution flag will fly. The 28 machine of Casey Tucker. Heavy damages. He plows into him. Yellow drops. And that was an interesting first 3/4 of a mile.
That was a very interesting start to the lap. Big moves by Ty Majeski up to P6 already from 10th. The awkward moment there. We had the replay up now showing you exactly what happened there in that corner. And it was the 8 machine of Derek Robinson getting into the back of the 25, just turning him around and keeping the foot in there, turning him around, and 28 nowhere to go.
Yeah, it looked like the 92 bounced off the top of the track and it right up into the 25. I don't think 25 was expecting it, and just slowed him down enough so that the 8 could just get in the back of him and spun him around, and that will bring out our first caution for this heat.
And you saw the heavy damage that Todd Sipe is going to get. He looks like he may just keep that car out on track. No, he will come down to the pit lane. Casey Tucker also. Those are the 2 drivers that were involved in that incident. Again, though, because this is the qualifying dash and not our qualifying heat races, these guys are locked into the show. You see somebody get junked like that later on tonight, and that may be the difference between them participating on Sunday and them going home without even a shot at the $200 purse. So Sipe comes down to the pit lane to get service, so does Casey Tucker. James Linkowitz, top spot, he's able to hold on to it. Absolutely nobody on the outside of the racetrack, Rachel, making anything work there. The top 4 right now all started on the inside of the racetrack. They were 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th on the grid. They were on the inside of rows 1, 2, 3, 4. That's Linkowitz, Riendo, Spearman, and Myers. Borges and Ty Majeski, the only drivers that have started up on the top side to make some advances. Ryan Borges picks up 1 spot to go to 5th, and then Ty Majeski from 10th to 6th. Again, the fastest driver in the qualifying time trials earlier tonight, trying to find his way back to the front in just 20 laps if he actually wants to start from pole.
I think he can manage that for sure. He's got the pace and he's moved this fast in 1 lap. I think he can certainly do it in 20, so we're going to have to see what happens here. But he's a little bit closer now, so, well, let's see what Linkowitz does, because last time round, majorly fast jump from Linkowitz. He was way ahead of the field very early on, so look to see him making a big jump again at the start.
He took off, and that's the advantage of being that control car, is when the pace car gets down to when the green flag drops, you could accelerate at any point during that. Problem for Ty Majeski, this caution flag takes, well, about a quarter out of the race length, because we count up, but again, you just see the time at the top of your screen. These drivers currently right now working on lap number 6 of 20 in this qualifying dash, and it's going to be Linkowitz leading us back to the green flag. The pace car down, and just like we saw the last time, Rachel, he's not waiting around at all. Green flag flies, and he has gone. Linkowitz to turn 1, Riendo, Spearman, Myers, and now Borges. Top 5 gets single filed out. Majeski still back in 6th.
He is indeed going to have to make some moves pretty quickly if he wants to get anywhere, because time's running out. But the gap between the leader and second is not as big this time as it was before, and well, we've managed a lap this time, so big start there as Majeski puts his nose under the 32, moves Borges up the track there, luckily, and gets that position for 5th, as now he starts the assault on P4, which is Kevin Myers.
And I think he just moved him out of the way. Cisco came over the radio and said sorry, and Borges just said yeah, because he understands that the 91's got to get going.
Yeah, we're sort of seeing what we saw Martinsville kind of see. Whenever you go to Martinsville, you kind of see the same sort of thing apply here, seeing Majeski just using the bumper, moving these cars out of the way. He knows he's faster. He's not trying to be mean or anything, but that's really how you pass here.
And just like we saw in the time trials, where we started with the slowest cars and we ended with the fastest cars in practice at the end of that qualifying session, here, the fastest driver started at the back. The slowest, and albeit they're still top 10 cars, but the slowest of these 10 started up front. So you should be seeing passes. That's exactly what we're looking at now. Majeski picks up another spot. He gets around Kevin J. Myers, and for James Linkowitz, that time by the start-finish on, he gets lap number 12 in the books. Now actually completing lap number 11. He starts lap number 12 at the moment. So the number 7 we're seeing down to turns number 3 and 4 yet again.
We just missed the 70, actually getting into the wall there, approaching the entrance to turn 3. But number 70 UNOH machine is under threat now from the 92, so there could be another couple of spots going backwards.
And at 92 is Spearman. He tries to take advantage of that. Looks to the bottom on Ty Spearman, and nothing happening there quite yet. Trying to get to the inside of David Riendo, that is. Small back-end damage on that 70 Riendo as lap number 8 now. Cisco goes into the books again. They're working lap 14 on track. Yellow flag laps don't count towards the distance, so a little bit more of an... Oh, Ty Spearman up the hill, though. He gets out of line into turn 3, and he had an engine. He lost his engine.
Yeah,
and he's got to get down to the
engine
fence, and that's it. It looked like he got turned up the hill because I didn't see the engine blow, and maybe they put a little bit too much tape on that for 20 laps.
He had a little bit of right front damage.
He says he had his Q-tape on the car.
Oh, that would be it then. Qualifying setup on the car for race conditions. Ty Majeski's day is well and truly done. That car has exploded.
So much like we saw here, the fastest driver in the field, Cisco, will find himself 10th for the main event.
I was not expecting that at all, but, you know, you just miss something like that. It's, you know, one tab in the garage, that sort of thing. But, you know, if you just miss it, maybe you aren't worried about, you know, getting that practice on the track. Maybe the track changed since qualifying. It probably has. So Ty was probably worried about, you know, getting used to the new track temps, and, I don't know, May just missed it.
Nobody yet to get to that 7 of James Linkowitz. He got the gap, but he is still 6/10 in front of Ty Spearman. Spearman up 3 spots, though, from the start of the race to get there. Trying to close in just a little bit as this race now really getting down to the end of that one. Again, this driver in second right now, if you're James Linkowitz, you're fast in your own right. James Linkowitz, the fastest car in the street stocks and the pro late models. He sits on pole for both of those. Ty Spearman behind him, the fastest car in the SK Modifieds in the street stock. So it's 2 of the best guys in the field here all weekend. 1-2 at the moment. Spearman is slowly closing in. They'll take 6 laps to go this time by. I don't think it's going to be enough distance covered per lap, though, if he wants to get to him.
Yeah, it certainly made things quite tricky here, of course, and running out of those laps, as we've seen already, but out front, Linkowitz is doing a great job. Looking at in that pole position, racing on the track now. Just incredible running. Spearman just can't get to him at all. And, well, Linkowitz putting in that pole for this race, obviously he was the top 10 car, so he's really making an advantage of this one.
And we saw the outside was not the place to be on the restarts, and Cisco not really the place to be under green. This guy's taking the advantage on that 70 of David Riendo. Borges, the first driver to look inside. Now the 8 car will join him, and they both get clear.
Yeah, the 70 was able to hold his ground a little bit on the outside there, but it just slowed. They kept getting further and further down past his car. So you can hang on the outside for a little while, but it's not preferable.
And into 7 car catches the fence, and that's the battle for the race lead. James Linkowitz trying to hold off Ty Spearman. What is at stake? Nothing more than just pole position. White flag in the air. Just half a mile. Does the 92 move him out of the way? $4 to win there in this, but again, you start for the best spot on Sunday to the inside. 7 shuts the door. Spearman to the apron to get out of the way. That'll do it. James Linkowitz, your qualifying dash winner at 5 Flag Speedway. And he starts from first spot, which means, guys, the slowest driver in time trial speed, 10th position. Grid inversion, starts from pole, never looked back. And I'll tell you what, Spearman gave him a hell of a push for it, but James Linkowitz, your pole winner for Sunday's main event. And for winning the qualifying dash, you'll pick up a $4 bonus.
Incredible race there from James Linkowitz. Just awesome performance, and wow, stellar return on that one. For the 10th place driver who didn't do a great qualifying, he ended up putting it on the pole, which is amazing. We've lost Ty Majeski, which is kind of surprising. So, bit of an inverted qualifying.
Yeah, so Linkowitz get a start from pole in the feature race after starting up front here. Ty Spearman will start in second. Ryan Borges third. It'll be Derek Robinson fourth. David Riendo in 5th position. Kevin J. Meyer 6th. 7th for Matt Rolfe. Casey Tucker in 8th. We mentioned Ty Majeski 9th. He does not actually get the last spot in that qualifying dash because Todd Sipe never rejoined the racetrack after being the 9th fastest car in time trials, started 2nd on the evening. So he finds himself in 10th position, and it's Ty Majeski in 9th. So those are the 10 drivers that are now locked in, and they know their fate in which they will find themselves on for Sunday. Sunday is race day with the Brennigan Ford Fall Brawl 250, the feature event live on LSRTV and iRacing Live, 250 laps at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You're not going to want to miss that one. Now, though, the drivers that aren't as certain of their fate, they have to hit the car now for a heat race. 3 heat races, guys. We have a total into this race of 34 drivers attempting to qualify for the Super Late Models, over 60 entries for the Fall Brawl weekend alone. Because we had more than 31 cars, though, we are going to have 3 sets of heat races, Cisco. Because of that, the heat races will only advance the top 5 finishers. Everybody else, well, you're going home.
Yeah, absolutely. All the drivers that qualified 11th or worse in the time trials, they'll be split up into these heat races. So, I mean, at this point, you know, it's anyone's guess to see. You know, we saw Ty Majeski. We thought he was going to go straight to the front here, and that didn't happen. So, we could see another maybe upset here. You know, someone from the back up front and doing well.
So it's going to be the number 4 that will start from pole position in this heat race number 1. and it is the driver that did qualify, indeed 11th position in the time trials. Wendell Stratton will start from the top spot. Let's take a look at our heat race number 1 starting grid presented by LSRTV. Alongside him in second going to be PJ Sturgis. Stefan Marinac will start in 13th position, rather third for this one. Outside to him in 4th position, Rachel, going to be Mark Gamick. And on the inside of row 3, the 787 of Kyle Holtzhausen.
It will be behind him there, yes, and it'll be behind them. It'll be Tom Hamika, Barry Zellman, Brian Thompson, Paul Fagat, and Mark Welch.
And so the lights on the pace car, we wait for them to go off, and then we get set to do battle. Lights still on the pace car at the moment. So this heat race number 1 gets set to get underway, and we have a total of 2-4. You got a couple of rows here. You have, again, these guys that were all outside of the top 10 in the overall time trials a little bit earlier. The Mid-State Litho qualifying dash in the books, and now 3 25-lap heat races on the board, and it looks like each heat race will consist of 8 drivers. So we have the names of Wendell Stratton, PJ Sturgis, Stefan Marinac, Mark Gamick, Tom Hamika. It looks like Kyle Holtzhausen, Barry Zellmer, and Brian Thompson, the 8 drivers on the racetrack. Out of the 8 of them, 5 move on. 3 of these drivers are going to go home, Cisco. We know they're going to be aggressive. Obviously, that's a key to this one, but if you get in an accident in this 25-lap heat race, you can pretty much call it quits on the evening. So for those guys behind the cut line at the drop of a green flag, they know they got to get going because they got to pass some cars, but on the same right, those guys that they're trying to get around are fighting for their life. They're not going to make it easy, and you can't afford a whole lot of contact. Albeit it's a short track, aerodynamics not that important, you still have to have a race car to the checkered flag as the lights go off.
Absolutely, and the other thing to look at is we saw it in the first race. That inside line is so fast here as the lights are off in the American Childhood Cancer Organization Ford Mustang pace car. But that inside line is so fast here, it's going to be hard for these guys on the outside to put up much of a fight. They might just have to fold in and try and get some spots.
We saw the outside struggle at the start of the qualifying dash. What can they do in the heat races? Pace car down and away, and no hesitation. Number 4 of Wendell Stratton, the ALS Association machine. To turn 1, takes over the race lead, no problem. A pretty good start, though, for the 57, and Sturgis to the inside of the racetrack. Power move. He wants the top spot in 3 and 4.
Good move there from PJ Sturgis. As up comes the 26 of Stefan Marinac as well. The leader held on the outside there. Wendell Stratton just going backwards now. Looks like the 65 could get through as well of Mark Gamick. So major disaster for Stratton, but this is not going his way.
It's funny, the 4 was on the inside, and we thought he would be safe, Cisco, but he pushed up high at a 2. Had a good move by Sturgis, goes to the bottom, and now he's the odd man out up top, and everybody passing him down low. He'll find a spot in line in front of the 787 of Kyle Holtzhausen. He's in the 5th and final transfer spot at the moment.
Yep, right now in the 11's trying to hunt down that 57 to grab that first spot. But right now, our race for the cutoff line here is going to be between that 16 car. That's the, I believe that's the that's 6 car in the field here. So that's the first car that's going to go home. He's got to get past that 4 car.
Yeah, that's Tom Hamika, started 6th, has not been able to go anywhere quite yet to this point. And that drops to 4 now as Wendell Stratton loses another running spot. He is now 5th position out of 8. He is the final driver in. In front of him, it's Holtzhausen in 4th. Martin Kamek in 3rd position. Stefan Marinac trying to challenge for the lead in 2nd. PJ Sturgis still your race leader, but it is Tom Hamika outside looking in. He tries to get a spot to get into a transfer position. Brian Thompson also at the moment is not in a spot to transfer into the feature. However, both of them, Rachel, closing to the back bumper of the 4. How wide does Stratton make that race car?
Well, Stratton's already lost a lot of spots, so he has to hold on to what he can here. So I think he's going to try and make it fairly wide, but I don't think he has the pace right now to hold it off as the 16 goes underneath him into 1 and 2. Brushing up a little bit, rubbing sides of the cars there. Very close to being an awkward situation for the pair of them. 16 will push up again and rub the 4. Seem to be trading quite a few bits of paint there. But I don't think he's going to be able to hold him off long. Those tyres will go off on the outside. 16 getting a good run off now, and that'll give him the spot. So move Tom Hamika up to that next position as he slide jumps into the corner. Oh, back comes the 4 and puts it round.
Tom Hamika
cars
hard
killed.
into the outside wall. The caution
Brian
flag
Thompson
will
too.
fly. And hello, Brian Thompson, the 5, gonna get a piece of that. But Tom Hamika, the driver of the number 16 machine, the Hurricane Race Cars machine, he had the pass. Again, this for the final transfer spot in the field. They go side by side. Cisco makes a clean pass. The 4 goes for the crossover. I can't say you expect anything less, because if he doesn't get that spot back, he goes home. He doesn't make it to the main event. The 4 drives to the bottom of the racetrack, and you know, he goes to the bottom. The 16 doesn't give him any extra room, but he doesn't really need to. Ends up that the 4 car turns to 16. Heavy damage on Hamika, going to take him out of this race, and he will not race on Sunday evening at a chance at $200. The 5 of Thompson gets a little bit of that. He's still somewhat okay, but the 4 car drives away with nothing.
Yeah, man, I feel so bad for the 16. He was so strong there and made that dive to the inside there, and the 4 just cut down. And it's like he knew he had to get to that bottom line if he had any hope to get that spot back. And sure enough, he went down there, and the 4 maybe a little bit of netcode there, but it looked like the 4 just drove it in there, and the 16 wasn't really expecting it. Kind of surprised him. And now as we see Tom Hamika coming over the radio here, not terribly happy with that 4 car.
Sarcastically thanks the 4 of Wendell Stratton, you know, for the punt there, Rachel. And again, I find it, you know, you look at the incident and, you know, the 4 dumped him. But at the same time, if you're Wendell Stratton, that's, again, your entire week on the line. You've paid entry fees to get into this. Not that, you know, you can run somebody over, but you have to expect that he's going to make the crossover. And to play devil's advocate, Hamika doesn't give him any additional room. Now, Hamika doesn't have to, because you don't typically go to the apron to make a pass, but that's just the product of this kind of racing.
I think realistically it is, and it's unfortunate for those guys, but he had the opportunity. The car pushed up when he came down, so he decided to go for the undercut, which is legitimate, and I think you can say the 16 kind of held him off the corner, so maybe he was expecting the 16 to move up the track more, but they'd been running pretty close. 16 had rubbed the 4 a few times, so I think the 16 felt like he was entitled to squeeze him a bit. So it's difficult to say, but the 4 is back out on track, prepared.
Yeah, so Stratton going to get that race car fixed up again. He does make the contact. He gets away with the least amount of damage out of anybody else. Again, it's really just front-end damage on that machine. PJ Sturgis stays out. He continues to be your race leader. And again, these caution flag laps do not count as a part of the 25 total. So we do have the caution flag at this point through 9 of the 25 laps in heat race number 1. PJ Sturgis, Stephanie Baranek, Mark Gamek, Kyle Holtzhausen, and Barry Zelmer at the moment. The top 5 drivers in at the moment. James Linkowitz is obviously the biggest winner so far. He's already gotten the pole position. He is locked in, so those are some of the names that you're looking at. But outside of those top 5, a lot unknown. The green flag drops and we get back and away. We race down to turns 1 and 2, and it is now Sturgis all alone. The fight for second behind him. Marinak up top, and it's Mark Gamek on the inside of the racetrack. The 65 trying to make something work in the ALS Association machine, trying to fight on the bottom.
Yeah, trying to make something happen here and try and gain some spots. Of course, not really sitting in a spot that he wants to be in right now. He has to catch up to Kyle Holtzhausen and pass him if he wants to get into this show, but with the loss of Hamika and the damage to the car of Brian Thompson, it's looking a little bit better for the 5 and the 4, but for the 4 even, I apologize, but he needs something more than this.
Sturgis again take it away, and he's running away with this one as he tries to open up that gap. He's already down to turns 1 and 2. Gamek in second, he's still in. Holtzhausen's in, Marinak is in, and Wendell Stratton is in. Barry Zelmer, the first driver out machine, and then Brian Thompson, who I believe is an additional 2 laps down compared to these guys, needs a lot more if he wants to be able to get anything cooking out of this one. Sturgis, though, can't say that I'm surprised, Cisco, to see the number 57 machines running strong. All of the Lastro Motorsports cars very strong in time trials, and right now absolutely putting on a show, enjoying that clean air.
Absolutely, he's got a huge gap on these guys behind him. But right now, that battle right now is going for second right now. We have Mark Gamek in the 65. He's leading that train. And then you have kind of the 4 kind of following those guys, but behind them, you have the 26 of Stefan Marinak, and then Kyle Holtzhausen has kind of jumped into the picture here in the 787. He might be looking for a couple extra spots, you know, it'll help you on the grid.
9 laps to go in this race. It is still PJ Sturgis out in front. It is still trailed by same group of cars. Stefan Marinak, he's won the fight for second. The 26 Mako Racing graphics machine takes over second. Gamek still third. It is Holtzhausen fourth. It is still Wendell Stratton in the transfer spot. Barry Zelmer 3 seconds back from the driver that he would need to pass in that 4 car if he wants to go above or below the cut line. But the 5 cars that are in the lead of the race and the 5 cars that you actually really see together in that main pack, all at the moment sitting pretty good. They close it on 7 to go.
Yeah, they're all sitting really good, and Marinak's able to put a little bit of a gap on Gamek now, so it's just kind of Gamek and Holtzhausen kind of fighting for that 3rd spot. So we'll have to see if, and Holtzhausen now going to dive to the inside. He's going to get that preferred line here, as maybe I could see Stratton trying to follow his line, maybe trying to get something there, but Holtzhausen going to put the move on Gamek. Gamek going to try and cross over, not going to do it here, as now Stratton's jumped into the equation.
5 laps to go, Rachel. It's easy to say for Mark Gamek to just let everybody go by because, again, if Wendell Stratton gets by him, he's still in a transfer spot, but the more spots you lose here, the further back you are for Sunday's main.
Yeah, certainly, and you need to try and think about, A, making it into the Sunday main for a start, play a safe move, don't take a risky move, but you also need to make sure you're in and try and get the best what you can, but also remember that once you're into the Sunday main, you can build spots, you can make spots, you can play safe and, you know, use race strategy to gain positions on a racetrack, and you don't need to give everything here. You got to think about this is a qualifying heat race. You got to finish to be in it.
To the inside goes the number 4 of Stratton. Gamek will yield high, and at 2 laps to go, the spot for P4 goes to the driver of the number 4. That Chevrolet makes the move, and Gamek will take over now. The 4th spot in this heat race. It'll drop Wendell Stratton back to P5, and PJ Sturgis, though, up at the front of the field. A gap that grows now to 9/10 of a second. White flag in the air. Less than half a mile to go for PJ Sturgis. Not going to be a top 10 spot. He fell just shy of that with 12th in the time trials. He'll get, though, into the main. Checkered flag flies. Heat race 1 to the last row. Motorsports 57 to PJ Sturgis. He will move on to Sunday's feature, and he'll be joined by Stefan Marinak, Kyle Holtzhausen, Wendell Stratton, Mark Gamek inside of the top 5. Barry Zelmer, Brian Thompson, and as well, the other driver involved in an earlier incident, Tom Hamika, the 3 drivers from heat race number 1 that are going home.
Yeah, pity to end days like that, especially for the driver of course, we lost the number, it was 16 it was actually, sorry, I've misplaced that name, Tommy Hamika. Unfortunate for him, so unfortunate. He did nothing wrong in that entire race, and, well, for it to end like that, it's just so kind of sad.
So they're going to get this second heat race now of 3 loaded up, the qualifying dash down, and heat race 1 of 3 in the books. Halfway through our qualifying heats, we'll step away for a brief moment. Be back at a 5 Flag Speedway in just a brief second. You're watching the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular Super Late Model qualifying on LSRTV.
Truex in the outside, contact made, 56 slides it at a 4, who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
live at the Five Flags Speedway. 5 drivers so far now have joined the 10 that got the top spots in time trials and punched their ticket into Sunday's Super Late Model feature. The other 3 drivers starting to go on the way out. They'll have one more opportunity later in the weekend to try to qualify into the LCQ, but their hopes really take a big hit here tonight. So we move on. We get set for qualifying heat number 2. Same rules. Top 5 locked in. The bottom 3 will fight for their lives a little bit later on in this SARA Fall Brawl through day 4 at the moment. Let's take a look at our LSRTV starting grid for heat race number 2. Joe Schaefer Jr. will start from pole position in the number 22. Daryl Hamlin will start in 2nd position. The 98 of Ian Lane get a start in 3rd. The 2 of Cody Thompson will start from 4th position, and Jason Williams will start in 5th.
And behind Jason Williams will be Russell Berry in P number 6, Mark Welch in P number 7, and I believe that's it. We've lost
84 scheduled.
Russell Berry is running.
Yeah, we're
lost
losing
the
one
44,
driver,
who should be Paul Fugate, but he is not running.
and Fugate had his black flags cleared, so it looks like Race Control may be attempting to get that car out onto the racetrack, although it sits on the pit lane at the moment. Paul Fugate is behind the wheel of that Lions Club International machine. You can see the 44 parked at a pit lane. They will roll now, and he's going to get out there on the racetrack, and he will join these guys in line and will indeed make the grid for this heat race number 2. He'll actually find himself topside to the number 58 machine. So the 58 of Jason Williams will be starting still in the 5th spot. However, the 84 Russell Berry not going to get 7th position. He'll get 7th, not 6th. He'll be back there. It'll drop as well. The 47 Mark Welch down to 8th position as Fugate takes over the number 6 spot. So he'll be on the outside of row number 3. Well, we saw the contact there, and well, Rachel, we saw contact take somebody out of the race, and that's just getting things warmed up. They're only holding on to a little bit, just trying to get into the show. Again, $1,600 of prizes up for grabs in the next couple of days. We go for heat race number 2 next.
We do indeed, and it's going to be a great run this time round, of course. Drivers have a bit more to gain here, of course. The further we head down this grid, the more these drivers really want this. They know they need to work as hard as they can, and they know they can gain something more in speed. Times are more similar here, so there's a lot more variety. The drivers can really push for something and gain some places, so it's going to be interesting to find out what they can achieve here and whether or not we get any more excitement. I think perhaps we might get a bit more, we say, bumpiness as things go on and the pace car comes off.
Unlike the qualifying dash, the fastest cars are up front. Green flag drops, heat race 2 underway. Across the start-finish line, they begin lap number 1. It's Joe Schaefer Jr. for the first time in the race lead. Daryl Hamlin second, it's Lane third. 4th is Jason Williams, and side by side for the final transfer spot, Fugate to the inside of the racetrack. He'll take over 5th, knocks the 2 car back to P6.
He does indeed, and right now it's getting pretty briskly in the middle of the pack here. Cars from the 44, the 47, 25, all battling very hard here. Looking like we're going to have a real interesting start of movements for passes.
Something's happened with the 2 car there. Cody Thompson to the apron of the racetrack. Cisco got sideways up the hill, and you can't really afford that, especially though when you're in P6. The gap between him now and that final advancing position in Fall Fugate grows a lot, and he continues to smack the left side of that car down on the apron. 3 laps in the books. That's losing him a lot of time, and it's also holding the 84 Russell Berry up behind him.
Yeah, and I think when Fugate's moved on, he's actually picked up the 4th position now, so the transfer spot will go to the number 98 of Ian Lane. He's going to be in that transfer spot now, but Cody Thompson's really got to put the foot down here if he hopes to catch those guys. He's got a little bit of right front damage from what I can tell. Someone came over the radio and said he might have missed a shift maybe on the start there, so that might explain that, but yeah, he just got super loose going into the first 2 corners.
The 3rd spot on track with that pass, rather than the 4th position. Schaefer still leads. It's still Daryl Hamlin, the top 2. Quite a nice gap. It's Jason Williams in the Mad Speed entry right now, 3rd. He'd be the closest car that Paul Fugate could get to. They're only about 4 or 5 car lengths apart from each other as they work lap number 7 at the moment. Ian Lane drops down to that final transfer spot as Cisco Adventure Angel, but he's not really losing a lot of time. I mean, Fugate making a pass, maybe because that 44 just a little bit quicker than him, but outside of that, nobody really losing a lot. It's not like the 98's fallen back into the clutches of Cody Thompson. Thompson's still the first car outside looking in, and he's about half a turn behind that car in P5.
Yeah, Cody Thompson just entering turn 1 now, and Lane's exiting turn number 2. So, of course, the big gap between them, so he feels pretty safe. In fact, Lane's going for Jason Williams right now in that 44 car, trying to find a way to get past and see what he can do on the racetrack. Actually, that's not. It's the 44 Paul Fugate, who is not scored in the right place because of the timing and scoring we're looking at, but that is for position. That is the 44 car ahead of him, and that will be one spot clear of transfer position, so he will be in a good spot there, Willie and Lane.
Schaefer putting on a clinic again. There is still no challenge up at the front of the field. It's still all the driver of the 22. Hamlin, still Williams, still Fugate, and still Lane. Russell Berry back here, Mark Welch as well. The 47 is 8 out of 8 at the moment. That racing car looks like that he's well back and doesn't have the pace. And actually, I think Mark Welch now down to the apron, and he's going to bring that car in. So the 47 machine, not the pace that they needed to advance Mark Welch's night. Be determined based on the LCQ a little bit later on in the race weekend. Not going to be able to get to the top 5 and lock himself in. So that leaves just Cody Thompson, just Russell Berry on the outside, and Ian Lane's actually, Cisco, putting the pressure back to the 44 to Fugate. Again, these guys, you might want 4th, but if I'm the 98 and if I'm the 44, I'm not even trying double file. You don't want anything to happen. You're good now. Don't do anything that would cause you to have a problem, because you have quite the gap still on that 2 of Cody Thompson, who again had that problem in 3 and 4 in the opening 3 laps, pushed up the hill, and it still continues to cost him.
That's true, Evan, but you gotta remember, each one of those spots, it does help you out for race day, so I mean, you know, it could make the difference between, you know, being in the show for the whole thing and getting wrecked out early on. So, you know, every position does matter, so I could see Ian Lane doing it. They've got enough of a gap now on Cody Thompson where, as long as they don't stay too wide for, like, the rest of the race, I think they'll be okay.
Thompson continues to slide and slide inside of 10 laps to go in heat race number 2 from the virtual 5 Flag Speedway. SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular Super Late Model Qualifying Thursday night on LSRTV, continuing through at the moment. And a little bit exciting going on up front, because it's been Joe Schaefer Jr. all night long. Daryl Hamlin, though, wants to be the top advancing spot from this race to the inside of the racetrack. The Autism Speaks entry and new heat race leader, and he brings right behind him and right on his bump of the 58 of Jason Williams. Williams to second. Schaefer loses a lot of time in turn 4 that time, and all the way back to the 44 of Paul Fugate. Still in the transfer spot, like Cisco said, though, but Rachel, he loses 3 spots. He still advances in this. That cost him at least a row in the main. Let's see, though, up at the front of the field, does Daryl Hamlin have enough to hang on to it, or can Jason Williams attempt the challenge?
Just watching the 98 and the 44 now. The 98's up the inside now, the 44 car, so that should be a pass for Ian Lane on Paul Fugate. As we have a position change there, that'll be another spot gain from putting him 1 place ahead of the transfer position, and quite about almost like half a lap now ahead of Cody Thompson. But it's a good pass there by the 98. Now he has to go after Jason Williams, a 58 car just ahead of him, so it's achievable. Now that's the 22 car, which is out of position. That's Schaefer, who's been shuffled backwards, so it's in a pretty interesting spot right now, as Jason Schaefer's going so far backwards, that car not doing so well.
And that battle for the lead was not much of one. Once that 58 got to the bottom, Jason Williams now overtakes Daryl Hamlin for the heat race to lead. Right down now with 3 laps to go, the 58 to the top spot, and he plans to set sail and not look back, already opening up a gap in front of Daryl Hamlin, who's now second. Your overall leader for the majority of this one, Joe Schaefer Jr. in third. He might lose another spot to the inside, or thinking about it, was Ian Lane. That door was shut, though. The 98 has to hold off for 1 additional moment. 3rd, 4th, and 5th still up for grabs, with Fugate right on the back bumper of Lane as well. These three battle, though. White flag gonna fly. Just one lap to go at the 5 Flag Speedway. Unless there's an accident, hope seems thin for Cody Thompson and company. It'll end this one, though, on a positive note. The best he ran all night made the pass inside of 5 to go. Checkered flag flies. Heat race number 2 to Jason Williams. He'll advance to Sunday's feature race. He'll be joined with Daryl Hamlin, the number 36 in second. Joe Schaefer Jr. third. Ian Lane in fourth. Paul Fugate able to come home in 5th. Those drivers are in the show. Russell Berry, Cody Thompson, the last of the 2 drivers that raced that one out, will come home in 6th and 7th position. They will be determining if they're able to go on through the LCQ a little bit later on in the race weekend, along with the other driver that did not complete the entirety of that heat race. Coming down a little bit early was Mark Welch, the 47, has to go to the LCQ as well.
Yeah, the last chance qualifying will be on Sunday. I think it's 8 p.m. So that will be their last final chance to get into, of course, the main show.
So those drivers will get sent to the LCQ. Talk about having to go through the race weekend with your main event unknown because, again, 8 o'clock Eastern on Sunday night is when they're going to find out, well, what their fate will be. That's when the LCQ will take place, immediately followed by the main event on the entire SARA Fall Brawl, the Brennigan.com Fall Brawl 250 at 9:30 for the feature event. That's 250 laps around the 5 Flag Speedway. We got 3 feature races on Saturday evening, 2 of the bigger ones with the Pro Late Models and the Super Late Models on Sunday, and a whole lot continues through this entire championship weekend, already in day number 4 as we kick off our coverage. The heat race number 3 drivers now pile them on at the end of the pit lane. They begin to roll off, and we get set to do battle for one final installment of 25 laps. Let's take a look at your LSRTV grid for heat race number 3. Pole position in this one, going to go to the 50 Ward. That's Stephen Burnett. Joe Latarlo on the outside of the racetrack, the 42 car, forced to start in 2nd position. The 63 machine is the driver of Hunter Combs. Combs, the Monster Energy machine, scheduled to start in 3rd. The 96 machine of Marcus Lambert starting in 4th in this one. P5 going to go to the driver of the number 20 machine, up just a little bit further in the starting grid here tonight at the 5 Flag Speedway. That's Matt Bontempi. He rounds out your top 5.
After Matt Bontempi is Dylan M. Schmidt. He'll be running up P6. Derek Holzhausen, of course, who had the no qualifying time after that incident in the shootout. Behind that, Stephen Burnett, who just came down pit road for a technical issue. He's back on track now. And Alex O'Brien, I apologize, in the 1. This is, we've got 2 more drivers going down pit road again. The 20 and the 54 back on pit road, which is unusual.
That's your pole sitter. Yeah, the 54 coming down to the pit lane. Stephen Burnett scheduled to start from the top spot in heat race number 3. That car is currently in his pit stall. He'll go back out there, maybe try to get something squared away on that car to make sure it's reset like everybody else at the beginning of this heat race number 3. Not quite sure. Right now we're showing, Jor Lataralo right now in 2nd position because he is on the outside of the front row. Top spot at the moment. If the 54 doesn't take the grid, I think that would hand things over to the Monster Energy entry on the outside in the 63 machine. That would go to Hunter Combs. However, the 54 machine catching up now. I do believe that the race officials are going to be able to give him that spot, Rachel. So just cleaning up some things on the cars. Again, the 20, another machine that came down. Matt Bontempi, same problem. 8 drivers, same deal for the final time. 3rd heat race out of 3. Lights off at a pace car this next time by. 5 go on, and 3 go to the LCQ.
Yeah, they shall, and well, the pace car will head down next time by, so another lap to go, but I think perhaps a few of those cars coming down pit road to check they still didn't have qualifying setups on those cars, which would be quite
And we saw that
awkward
earlier
for
with
them.
Majeski.
We did indeed, of course. Ty Majeski put it on pole in the shootout for timings, but blew his engine in his actual heat race, so big turnaround there, making sure everybody else just wanted to do the same sort of thing.
So we believe everybody came down to get their tape off. Again, because of that, Majeski did not have a chance to race for the pole. He'll start 9th on Sunday. What do these guys do? Which 5 will we know that will be racing in the Brennigan.com Fall Brawl 250. The pace car down to the way. Green flag flies. Heat race number 3 is green from the 5 Flag Speedway. The 54 car. First driver down the turn number 1. Leading us off, it's old Stephen Burnett. Letterello in second position. It's Hunter Combs, Marcus Lambert, Matt Bontempi, your top 5 on lap number 1.
He is, and towards the rear there, we have Derek Holzhausen. Nearly got involved with the number 1 car of Alex O'Brien, so having to watch out for each other on the track there. As 2 wide off the corner ahead of them, that is the 63 of Hunter Combs and Marcus Lambert, who's just made that position up. So I believe it's P6 or P5 that transfers across, is it?
In that one machine of Alex O'Brien was the first driver outside looking in, and he was closing in on Matt Bontempi in 5th position, who has that final transfer spot, and well, he caught the fence, so that's going to give the advantage. Holzhausen the slide job at a turn number 4, Cisco. These guys going at it, the 82 making sure there's no way that 1 car can get through.
Yeah, right now the 20 is leading the train here. He's the last car kind of in that transfer spot. He's got to hold on to his spot, but right now, oh, and I just lost it. Sorry, technical difficulty. 82 right now is the first car not in the show right now. So the 82's got to catch the 20 if he hopes to make it into the show without having to worry about going through that LCQ.
Things starting to type up just a little bit up in the front of the field. Burnett only a car length and some change in front of Joe Lattarella right now in the number 2 spot at the moment. But these guys well into the show. Bontempi still the final transfer spot. Derek Holzhausen, 34th on the grid into tonight's heat race, Rachel, at the very bottom of the speed charts. Caught the fence in his practice, or rather in his actual time trial. Caught the fence across the start-finish line, crossing over from lap 1 to 2. Therefore, if he even tried a second lap, that lap time invalidated as well. He essentially gets a DNQ, although the time was officially a minute and some odd change for him getting down there onto the pit lane in for his warm-up lap. He's a fast car, and that's why you see he's closing in on the 20 of Matt Bontempi. This is no easy thing for the 20 to hold off, and it's going to be a battle for the transfer spot at lap number 9.
Yeah, we've lost Alex O'Brien as well. Problems for him, so looking at last chance qualifying will be a thing. But Holzhausen, good move for him. He's making a move on Bontempi right now, so someone's going somewhere for Derek Holzhausen. Looking like he could have had a fast car in the qualifying, but obviously disallowed, so he makes up a spot now. That moves him up to 5th position, the final transfer spot, so Derek Holzhausen will get his way in.
And you talk about using every inch of the racetrack. The 82 would have made that pass, just brushed the outside of retaining wall in turn number 4. They didn't hit it too hard, though possibly as close as he made it in the qualifier session. Nonetheless, though, he gets to move, and we saw that 20 of Bontempi try the crossover, Cisco. We saw that earlier in these heat races. Wasn't necessarily the best move, the 20, though. Not enough power to do it. And I think Bontempi beginning to slide back. I don't think he's fast enough to complete with a guy like Derek Holzhausen, who was a top 10 car in time trials before, again, having his actual time trial lap disallowed.
Yep, but we'll have to see Bontempi. The best thing he can do right now is just put his head down, just focus on hitting his marks, and wait for Derek Holzhausen to maybe make a mistake. I don't think Bontempi has the setup that can beat Holzhausen, but if he just hopes Holzhausen maybe makes a slight mistake, Bontempi might be there to grab that final transfer spot, but it's going to be close between these two.
Bontempi slides behind him. Dylan M. Schmidt, the other driver, 7th position outside. And again, we talked about how Alex O'Brien, some sort of connection issue, has taken that car out of the race. So he's not going to be competing in this heat race number 3 any longer. He'll be forced to the LCQ. Dylan Schmidt not having the speed that he needs to, and Matt Bontempi slowly falling off of the train there at the back of the pack in P6. Nothing happening up front at the moment, but much like we saw in heat race number 2, with 10 laps to go, your race leader had 10 to go in heat race 2, Rachel, ended up coming home in 3rd. Stephen Burnett still needs to hold off, and it's starting to look very similar to what we just saw. The 42 machine, the next car in line, that's the battle for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and they're all on top of each other in turn 2. Joe Lattarella trying to do something with it. The 97 Marcus Lambert sits and waits in the wings.
Yeah, he does. 42 is getting caught by the 96 there, so he has to watch out for Lambert coming from behind. So the 54 and the 42 battling hard, but there's a 3rd contender coming up, guys. Watch out for him. And if they battle much harder than this, Holtzhausen's just made a pass on Hunter Combs for P4, so he's up another spot past the 63. So, well, he's next after the guys in the lead, and he can see them, so maybe if they fight a little harder, Holtzhausen can get involved in this, as we see a potential move from the 42, Joe Letterino on Stephen Burnett.
He had that small opening, the 54 pushed high, and that 42 Machida Lattarello just not close enough, I think, to get to the inside. But you can tell the 54 Cisco is struggling with the handling on that race car just a little bit as the tires get some wear on them. And again, the Speedway continues to get rubber put down on it. 5 laps to go this time by. 54 pushing up high. The 42, he's in a spot to make a move. He's just got to set him up.
Yep, right now in the 42, gonna maybe take a look to the inside. There he goes, gets down to the bottom. Can he make it work? 54 able to kind of hang tough on the outside, but the 42 might have the preferred line. No, the 54 slams the door on him, I believe. No, he doesn't. He goes up the track. Now the 42 gonna fight back on that inside. 42 is gonna go back into turn 3. He might have something here. The 96 wants to follow him through the corner.
And a 96 going to be much faster than these guys as they go double file. That time the 54 not able to come down in front. And Lattarello at a corner number 2, not quite clear. He'll bring the 96 with him, and topside goodbye to the number 54 machine. Slide job, no. He'll fight back once more. 2 laps to go in heat race number 3. They want to race for the win, but right now these 3 guys all in a spot to move on. And Joe Lattarello going to go on to the race lead. The 96 wants to take second. It's Lambert on the inside. It's the 54 of Burnett. They're trying to do something. Holtzhausen wants to join the picture as well. It's a 4-car fight for the race lead. The white flag now flies, and less than half a mile to go. Checkered flag will fly, and it's going to be a win in heat race number 3. The 42 going to get this one. Joe Lattarello, your winner. And on the outside of the racetrack, how about the 54 of Stephen Burnett, Rachel? Not enough to win the race, but somehow hangs on topside for a second in heat race number 3. Lambert will come home 3rd. Holtzhausen 4th. Combs in 5th. Those are your 5 drivers that will advance to the Brennigan.com Fall Brawl 250 on Sunday evening.
Yeah, incredible driving from those guys, and I've got to say, driver of that heat was definitely the driver there of Derek Holtzhausen. Just incredible. From the back up to P4, he put himself into the main race, and he deserves it. Incredible run from him.
And with that, all of your super late model Thursday night qualifying festivities are in the book. Already racing through this evening's Mid-State Litho qualifying dash, determining the top 10 pole position overall for that one, going to the driver that started in a good spot. And again, the big story, Ty Majeski, who was unable to complete that after losing his engine, will find himself in 9th. Provisionals to be determined via race control as far as SARA points throughout their 5 divisions. And again, the LCQ Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. The drivers that did not transfer in through heat race 1, 2, or 3, 9 drivers will fight for the final spots in the main event. All of that going on Sunday evening. But qualifying for the super late models is done, and we look forward, because the next time we come on as our coverage of the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular is now all feature races. Before we get to that, though, gotta wrap things up from SLM qualifying here under the sun in the home of the Snowball Derby, the 5 Flag Speedway. Cisco, I'll go to you first before we wrap things up from what was an exciting night of qualifying. Through the time trials, through the heat races, and through it all, what did you think of this one, and what do you think this means for what we'll find out on Sunday evening?
I think we definitely saw that about 25 laps, you know, these guys were starting to wear out the tires. We saw Batempi kind of save his tires. He was trying to put some moves on Combs there at the end to try and get in, but I think tires are going to be a big player here on Sunday, and also it's going to be just that bottom line. That was the place to be if you wanted to make a pass. So we're going to be looking for these guys to be making those passes on the bottom line. I don't think I've seen a single guy all night be able to hold it on the top side and hold off someone.
Yeah, we talk about this one having some drama, Rachel, contact in these heat races. A couple of guys that may not agree with each other on how all of that ended, but you're going into a race on Sunday evening, 250 laps at the 5 Flag Speedway, $200 to the winner alone, $1,600 up for grabs between the opening 3 days of this Fall Brawl Spectacular. Right now, day number 4 comes to a close. We still have day 5 tomorrow, 6 and 7, full of all of the features on Saturday and Sunday. Difficult in the sim to kind of separate the emotion factor in it, especially when there's a whole lot of cash on the line. I can tell you one thing, that Saturday and Sunday, they will be very passionate events, if that's the right way to put it.
Of course, and we saw this amount of passion in qualifying races, so it's incredible to think what we'll get in the actual feature race. So really looking forward to it.
Super Trucks qualifying going to be Friday night tomorrow for the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular, and LSRTV live tomorrow night with our Friday night doubleheaders, the Ron Car Truck Tour, the iSuperspeedway.com Racing Series in action. You can go to facebook.com/livesimracingtv or livesimracing.com for our upcoming broadcast schedule, and as well full qualifying results from tonight, and as well full results from tomorrow night. We'll see you back Saturday night. 3 150-lap features. It all kicks off at 5 o'clock Eastern with the SK Modifieds, followed by the Street Stocks at 7, in the Super Trucks at 9 o'clock. All of those back to back on LSRTV. And then on Sunday, 6 o'clock Eastern, the Pro Late Model feature for 200 laps on LSRTV. And at 9 o'clock Eastern, LSRTV and iRacing Live bringing you the Super Late Model feature, 250 laps. That is the main event. That's what everybody is here for. Until then, though, qualifying for the Super Lates in the books. Day 4 down. Still 3 days to go. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and on behalf of the entire LSRTV organization and for the team tonight, on behalf of myself, Evan Pasoko, as well for our executive producer, Laura Lawson. Up in the booth with me, Rachel Whiteford and Cisco Scaramuzzi. We thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations to your winners. Congratulations to everybody that advances to Sunday's main event. LSRTV's coverage of the biggest sim racing short track event of the year continues this coming weekend. We'll see you back Saturday night. It's a triple feature, and it's only on LSRTV for the SARA Fall Brawl Spectacular. We'll see you then.